Asha sat on the cold pavement, her heart heavy, her head bowed. Little Mira coughed inside their shack. Each cough a tiny hammer blow to Asha's soul. Mira needed medicine. Without it, Asha couldn't even think the thought. She had worked all day washing clothes till her hands were raw. Her back ached, her stomach growled, but all she had were empty promises. Come back tomorrow, they said. Tomorrow for sure, tomorrow. Tomorrow was a luxury Asha couldn't afford. Mira needed help now. Asha clutched the few rupees she had. Not enough for medicine, not even close. The shopkeeper barely looked at her. I told you, come back tomorrow. His voice was flat, devoid of emotion. He continued stacking shelves, dismissing her like a pesky fly. Sob, please, Asha pleaded, her voice cracking. My daughter, she is very sick. I need the money today. She held out the crumpled rupees, a pathetic offering. The shopkeeper scoffed. Everyone has problems, he muttered. Come back tomorrow. He turned his back on her, the gesture a clear dismissal. Asha's shoulders slumped. Despair, heavy and cold, wrapped around her like a shroud. What was she going to do? The bakery was warm, the smell of fresh bread intoxicating. Asha stood outside, her stomach twisting. She had no money, but maybe, just maybe. She pushed the door open, the bell above it tinkling merrily. A wave of heat and the aroma of yeast and sugar washed over her. A man stood behind the counter, his face dusted with flour. Sob, Asha began, her voice trembling. My daughter, she is sick. She couldn't even finish the sentence. Shame burned in her throat. The baker frowned. We don't give away free food, he said gruffly. Please leave. He gestured towards the door, his face hardening. Asha wanted to scream, to cry, to beg, but she simply nodded, defeated. She turned to leave, the smell of warm bread now a cruel mockery. As Asha stumbled back into the sunlight, a small hand tugged at her sari. She looked down into the bright eyes of a young boy, no more than 7. He was holding out a loaf of bread, his face earnest. Didi, he said, his voice small but clear. For your daughter. He thrust the bread towards her, his eyes shining with a kindness that pierced through Asha's despair. Asha stared at the bread, then at the boy. Her throat tightened, tears welling up in her eyes. It wasn't just bread he was offering, it was hope. A tiny spark in the darkness. She knelt down, accepting the bread with trembling hands. Thank you, she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. The boy smiled, a radiant, hopeful smile. And for the first time that day, Asha dared to hope too.